This is Mai from the Worldwide Good News, and I have Aaron Ross, the founder of PebbleStorm, the creator of Unique Genius, which is an amazing program on how to find your own unique genius so you can actually create the life and work and career you really want. It's really exciting to have you here, Aaron. How are you?
I'm great. I'm a little tired this morning, just from recovering from getting married and a honeymoon last week.
Oh, wow. Congratulations.
Taking it easy, but yeah, no, I'm feeling really good. And I also have Kizzy here keeping me company. So
that's awesome. Congratulations. Yeah, that's fun.
Yeah, a big life, I guess growth is the right way to describe it. A lot of it's it's been really interesting also seeing the parallels in relationships with my work in Unique Genius, but we can get into that a bit later.
Yeah. Oh, that would be great, because that is exactly what we're talking about. How to, instead of having work, which is something outside your body, not connected to you, it's that capitalism thing. And you actually say, how do you merge capitalism with Buddhism, like the money with the spirituality, the happiness, and it can work, and you're living proof that it's working. Yeah. So, yeah, tell me a little bit the background, and then how you basically decided, I want to follow my bliss. Like, how did that happen?
I have some free training videos on uniquegenius.com. And one of the videos is called 5 Ways to Make More Money on Purpose. And in that video, I say, do what you love and the money will follow. My premise is, it's sort of like follow your bliss. I say, actually, I think that's bunk. That do what you love and the money will follow. To me, there's something missing, because there's lots of people who do what they love and they make no money. Yeah. And there's lots of, think about the whole nonprofit world as one example, especially the executive directors and employees there. And there's lots of people who make lots of money but don't love what they do. So it's adding something to it. It's not wrong, but it's follow your bliss while creating value, and the money will follow. Or do what you love while creating value, and the money will follow.
And that's an important message, because people are just disenchanted right now. That's the feeling of like, why am I doing this? And there's people who really are happy and doing what they want to do. But I think it's always been like that. This is an ancient message, but I think people are only waking up to the fact that they have the potential. And you actually talk about it, and I just downloaded a little ebook of yours, and you actually talk about it, that we all have that potential. We just think that others have and we don't.
Yeah, and I think that, also too, let's say that you're at the stage of you're in a job that you don't like, or you might it might be okay, but it's not fulfilling. And then someone says, follow your bliss or do what you love. And your first question is like, well, what the hell is that? What do I love? What do I want to do? I don't know. So, you asked a little bit about my background, and part of what I've come from is that corporate world, professional world, where I was born in Silicon Valley, in Palo Alto. I went to Stanford. I did investment banking. I was in a software company, turned down Stanford Business School to start my own internet company, raised venture capital. That company actually, did the boom and then crash and burn. Went to a company called Salesforce.com. I helped create a $100 million sales organization in that company. And then I went to a venture capital firm where my job was, I was getting paid to figure out what company I wanted to start.
Which is kind of cool.
It was very cool. Yeah. It was awesome. Yeah. Until, by all that, like I never really hated work. There's lots of people who hate their jobs, and for good reason. There's lots of times I was frustrated, but for the most part, I usually enjoyed what I did. I was successful in the corporate world. And every time I'd go to the next thing, I enjoyed it, but it was never really fulfilling. It never felt like it really mattered. And I could see back in the jobs I was doing, or in the company I started, I was always looking for, how can I create something that matters? Starting the internet company, I really was trying to do something that mattered. It's Salesforce.com, building this new sales organization. Like, I really wanted it to matter. And once I got to this venture capital firm in Palo Alto, where it was finally a place where I really felt like, wow, okay, I can do anything. I realized, wow, I don't want to do software. I don't want to raise money. I don't want to be a CEO again in that model. Yeah. It's not that it was bad. I don't know. I don't want to do it. I've been in it so long. I was so far in the box. It never occurred to me that I was that far in the box of thinking within the technology world. And then if I took a blank, I actually did, I took a blank sheet of paper and really started to think about if I could do anything, what would it be? And what I realized was I had no idea what I wanted to do. But I started to think about, okay, well, I know that I want to be able to work on what I want, when I want, from where I want, with who I want. And I started on this path of at least designing the parameters of what the work would feel like and be like, even if I didn't know what I would actually be doing day to day. And I think that's what I found is that's a very, so my path of what I've done and going from work where I could make money, but it wasn't fulfilling, to, I don't know what I want to do, but I want to do something different, to figuring out sort of the baby steps of making my first dollar through fulfilling work. And then now, last year I did about a couple $100,000 with my businesses. That path is all stuff. It's like the exact same path that my clients and a lot of people take. Yeah. And I think a lot of one of the biggest, if there's one, well, there's a couple really key things I'd share, but one of them is that in combining fulfillment and money, you can make money fast, or you can find fulfillment fast in certain ways. If you're doing a nonprofit, I mean, but to really have them both and have them merge in a way that's sustainable and I would say not predictable, but sustainable. It's more like a 5-year time frame. It's not 6 months. It's not even. I mean, it depends on where you start from. For most people, it's probably more like 5 years.
Oh, that's a good number, because I mean I'm on my path and I've been there almost a year. And I thought it'll be overnight.
Exactly.
No, it takes time.
Well, and then you start thinking, wait, what's wrong with me? Why isn't this faster? But if you just understand it is probably more like a 5, give or take. But like, I use 5 years now. I used to think 3, but I've seen even for myself, I'm probably on year 4. So last year I did, a couple $100,000. It took a lot of energy. I worked more than I wanted. I enjoyed it, but it wasn't sustainable. Yeah. So I usually work about up to 30 hours a week. And there's some weeks last year I probably worked 40, 50 hours, which may not sound like a lot to people there, but what I've gotten to be really good when I work, I'm very intense. And so 40 hours of, I did a product launch last year and so on. I mean, it took a lot of energy. Yeah.
Well, it's 40 hours of real work, not 40 hours of fountain conversations, meetings, coffee breaks.
Being at the office. Usually, I mean, look, I waste time. It's easy to waste time at home. And I work at home and I work, I bounce around. There's a while where I worked and traveled in Buenos Aires and Bali and around the world at different places. And sort of got not tired of it, but I just moved on. And now I love being at home, especially now, even before I had a family. But I love being able to, work at home, then walk to a coffee shop, work there for a bit, bike to someplace, and bounce around. I love that location independence, just to be around home and also, but move my environment. It's easy to waste time. It's even easier when you're on your own, I think.
Yes, but it's great. It gives you that freedom to work from anywhere you want. And when you work, I notice when I need to do something, an hour of my work is usually, probably like 2 to 3 hours in a regular office job work. I mean, it's so much more concentrated, and you really are in the, what people call in the flow, in the zone, because it's something you want to do versus something, that you have to fight to do.
And plus with the politics and approvals and so on and so forth, like this, you can just get stuff done.
Sometimes you don't believe in yourself that you can actually do it because you're your own boss. So it's like you try to push yourself to the higher level, and you sometimes beat yourself for that. So how do you get out of that mind frame? Because there's nobody else to, I mean, we all have our cheerleaders and champions in our life, but you got to do most of that yourself. How do you get out of that negative mind frame?
Yeah, everybody gets in that pattern of self-criticism, right? Because when you're in a company, it's easier to criticize the people around you and the environment and so on. When you start to do your own thing, there's no one else really to blame. And so you naturally take on the whole load to your own shoulders. So that self-criticism becomes more evident. And by the way, this is something that happens with CEOs, because I also do CEO coaching from my background. CEOs it's like the highest pressure, responsibility job in the company. It doesn't get easier at first for a while for CEOs, because then they feel the entire load of the world, the company, on their shoulders. So it's natural as a new entrepreneur to feel all that responsibility. It's like, wow, if something's not going right, it's me. I'm
Mm-hmm.
doing something wrong. I'm, like I said, I've been at it for a year. I don't have the X, Y, or Z, but I'm not where I thought I would be. So what am I doing wrong?
Mm-hmm.
Joe over here did something in 6 months. So it's, first of all, it's natural. Have felt and feel that self-criticism as well. Well, I'm not doing enough because we're trained that we need to work. The more work we do, the more results. And then what I'm doing isn't good enough because we're trained in perfectionism there, or you've succeeded because you're a perfectionist. And I'm not working. Another reason why you succeed in the professional world is because you have no boundaries.
Mm-hmm.
And if you need to work 80 hours that 1 week, you'll do it. You don't say no. It's learning how to set self boundaries. This is one reason why it takes a few years is because it takes that long to retrain the way you're thinking about yourself. After 4 years, really feeling a lot more regular, sustainable contentment and happiness, less self-criticism around, I should be doing all this work, to be able to relax and do, I don't know, today, maybe 3 hours. I don't know if this is work. To me, this is fun.
Yeah.
Maybe there's maybe 3 hours of work today for me to do.
And is it like the path of less resistance, that like the 3 hours is something that you're going to be in flow most of the time, and it's not hard work, because there's kind of almost a paradigm where we think that we need to work hard, kill ourselves for a job to make it good.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm more and more hearing and believing that when I'm in flow and when things are, I'm working, but I'm focused in flow, working hard, but enjoying it, having that happiness and even sometimes that fear of feeling that like, wow, accomplishment. Oh, exactly. That kind of joy. That's what I'm talking about.
Exactly. Want some attention.
Yeah. But I mean, when you're working and your animals are around, but you're actually doing work that is, you're changing stuff for other people, you're helping people, but it doesn't feel like that, that chest pains of like, I'm so stressed about my work, and the stomach churning because you got to get to a deadline. I mean, I call it the path of less resistance. If I don't feel like that and I'm working, that's where I know, or I'm in the flow, or I'm on purpose, or I'm going in the right way. And my conversation with myself is always, am I on purpose? And is this going to make me money at the end of the day or the end of the week or the year? Is that kind of what you're talking about as well?
Yeah. And it takes practice to learn how to enjoy work, get a sense of what do you really want to do and how do you do it. Mm-hmm. And I think also not in realizing that even when you have your own business, when you're doing your own thing, it's not always going to be perfect. There's a lot of crappy days. You're going to have days where you wake up and you don't want to get out of bed. You're going to have days where you feel like you need, maybe you do need to do something, whether it's for your website or for a client, and you just don't want to. Or there's times where you're working where I'm working. It's like, I don't want to do this, but I know I committed to somebody to do something. So it's probably like a relationship, as I said, where you can be married to your ideal person, your ideal mate. It's okay to have those moments and times where you feel like crap or you're unmotivated. And I mean, we're still human. So I think the idea is, instead of having that flow state be 10 or 20% of your day or work, or 5%, how can it be 60 to 80 to 90% of what we do? And still realize there's going to be some shitty moments. Here's one other really important thing I recommend to people, because it can take a few years to really figure out, like, what are you meant to do? I saw my life purpose pretty quickly once I started to look for it, but it took me a while to figure out, well, how would I do it? It's important, I feel, that you have some source of income during that time. Most of my clients end up realizing they need to get some sort of job, or either keep what they've got or get one that's better aligned to who they are, what they want to do. Or do consulting, which is what I've done. So there's some day job income where, you may not love it, but you can enjoy it, and it at least aligns closer to who you are and your vision than what you were doing. So that's one track. On the other track is your whatever is your pure passion. What do you really want to do to give back and make a difference, and to have these separate, so that money anxiety isn't there. Yeah. When you're having your baby, so to speak, this vision of what you really want to, the difference you really want to make in the world, you don't have this child that you are now starting to yell at saying, why aren't you making money? So it takes the pressure off. And then over time, as your child, your unique genius business grows and can be more mature and be able to make more and more money. First you make $1, and then 10, 100,000, so on. what you'll start to see is that your two tracks, the way you've made money in the past and today, and the way you're sort of your pure, unique, genius passion, they'll start to merge in weird ways. Fulfillment is when you're bringing your full self to your work. Mm-hmm. So if you think about everything you've ever done in work and life, when you're really on purpose, you'll see how you're using parts and pieces from everything of you in your work.
Getting people to actually realize that it's not an overnight thing.
Nope.
It's a process, and be okay with it. That's huge, because people are very all or nothing. And if they don't succeed, they're like, okay, I'll drop it and I'm not going to do it. I'm just going to go back to my day job because
I give up.
Yeah.
Don't give up.
Yeah. That's a really great message.
A lot of people feel like when they're starting a business or starting to look at that, if they have a job or part-time income, they're failing in some way.
Exactly.
And that's bullshit.
Yeah. Exactly. I've read a lot of the Heart Math Institute work, and there is something about the way, apparently our heart does have an intelligence, so how we feel that we're on purpose is part of our genius, part of what our brain is also telling us. That's a path of capitalism and Buddhism, is the brain and the heart.
Yeah, it's I say, happiness and combining happiness and money. Some people say left brain and right brain, capitalism and Buddhism. But really, it really is taking all these pieces of who you are and integrating them and merging them so you can actually use all of yourself at once. Yeah. Rather than treating, hey, I use my work self over here, and then there's other things I care about that I do over here. So here's how I make money. Here's how I get back. Is one example. Why not integrate them all so you don't feel like you're leaving parts of yourself behind? Why can't you be the same person at work that you are outside of work?
Exactly. And it's in a Buddhism, the whole idea of big mind. It's actually getting the human closer to the idea of big mind, of the integrated both sides, the integrated yin and yang. So it's really actually, we are all integrated and working in our, walking our purpose and working with what we want. We'll be making very good money and living a very good life. And you are definitely an evidence for taking that path. Yeah.
And ebook I did recently, the title is You Can Make as Much Money as You Want Doing What You Love. I was never really inspired by the idea of make money doing what you love. Making barely enough money to survive doing what I love. It wasn't like, that's not what I want. I want to be a CEO in my own way, where I'm making plenty of money, as much as I want, and I'm doing something I love. There's a lot of poverty consciousness where it's thinking, okay, if this may not be a conscious thought, but the idea of, okay, if I'm poor, I must be doing something good. Yeah. And so I should stay poor. This is like an unconscious thought. And if I make money, there's something bad there.
It's the whole relationship with money, that like money is an evil thing, and people don't get that money is something that humans invented, so we can make it whatever we want it to be.
Yeah. It's just a tool. And by the way, you need oxygen. You as a person and companies need oxygen, money, to survive and thrive. Nonprofits need money to survive and thrive. Money is just a tool.
Yeah, and I completely agree with you, because I know so many people work in nonprofits, and I see that because we're a nonprofit, we're not supposed to earn enough money, and it's like, no. How does your Maslow's pyramids of needs being met here? So you can actually, I believe that if all our needs are being met to our highest good in a good way, that's when we can actually bring back to humanity much more. When we're coming out of a paradigm of scarcity, how can we give more? If we think, because everything we give, we actually make, we start making assessments about how much do we give, how much should we get. That's not an abundance paradigm, that's a scarcity. So
I recommend people all have full-time or part-time jobs so you can relax about money. Where else can you get paid to learn than in a job? That's why you want to find one that at least aligns with who you are, and get out of a toxic one. When you're an entrepreneur working from home, it can also get lonely because you're not around people as you are at the office. How can you reduce your stress and anxiety as much as you can? As you said, meet the Maslow's sort of the base of the pyramid, so that you can actually self-actualize, which you can't do unless you have moments of peace, calm, relaxation.
If you are an entrepreneur and you're by yourself and you live in a wonderful city like San Francisco or in the LA area, there's plenty of other people like you out there who want to meet you. And that's another thing, even if you are by yourself, there's all these wonderful ways of meeting other people today that meet these other people who are on the same path as you. So remember that you're never alone.
Yeah, man, that's actually a great point, because I've gotten questions from people. When you first start this, most of your friends and family won't understand what you're doing, and they won't support you, really, because it won't make any sense to them. And that's actually part of the natural process, because over those few years, it's like you're starting to learn how to vibrate at a higher frequency.
Mm-hmm.
So you're going to end up attracting and meeting a different group of people who are more closely aligned with who you are, letting go of past relationships, and whether it's work or even family. It could be letting go of the person, or it could be the type of relationship. That's a natural part of the growth, is to have a new group of people, and you have to go proactively look for people that get you in that way, and let go of people who are, especially people who are toxic, but let go of people who aren't supporting you. There's a fear in them that if you change, it's like that's change for them, and they don't like change.
Yeah.
So they actually want you to not change.
Yeah. It's those energy vampires that suck up your energy.
Yep. Crazy makers, energy vampires. I don't know, just people who suck your energy.
Sometimes they don't mean it and they're good people, but it's their own fears and they're on a different path,
Yeah. I mean, lots of parents, if you're leaving a job, not mine, thankfully, most parents will they'll be worried about you.
Yeah.
What are you going to do? How are you going to make money? Da, da, da. They're going to want to give you their fears.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is part of this whole process, especially Unique Genius and what you're doing. It's really finding your authentic self and how to live it. Create your own life, to let go of living how you should live, how other people think you should live, and living for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So parents have been a huge influence there. There's lots. I have a client, this guy Casey Berman, who started a company called LeaveLawBehind.com.
Mm-hmm.
He's actually in San Francisco, by the way. And I think how many lawyers does he talk to who really are in law just because their parents thought they should, or pressured them, or encouraged them, or because it's prestigious and you make money and so on, or they did it. It's not. They don't. These lawyers don't want it. They don't really want to do it. They're just doing it because they thought they should. Actually, interviews are a great way to do that.
Yeah.
I love interviews, because when you do the interviews for yourself,
mm-hmm.
not only does it give you a clue on, because if you could interview anyone about anything, these are great clues to what your purpose is.
Yeah. That's how I'm building it. Bingo. And I said to a lot of my interviewees that when I talk to somebody, and the first thing is I do it for my own enjoyment and to really listen to the other person's story, because it fills me up. And I know that that's that's one of my biggest clues for what I'm supposed to do. And for each person is a different thing. And the other thing is I get to share this with other people. And it's wonderful, because I get to share this wonderful moment that I shared with another person, either in person or online, which is almost in person. And they get to see that what's possible for them. And that is my message, is, the narrative, the personal narrative is that we all are personal narratives. And if we actually want to change our life, we just have to rewrite our script for our own personal narrative. And my idea is to bring people who have done that.
Yeah, and that's where anyone who's listening to this who is interested in following you and me, interviews are a fantastic way to do it. You're doing it exactly right, where you do the interview for yourself first, and then you happen to share it with people. Yeah. Rather than some people get caught up in the, how do I interview, with the idea that I need to interview it and be able to do it for other people. Yeah. What questions should I ask? Whenever someone asks me what questions should I ask to do an interview, I will ask whatever ones you want to know from the person. And what do you want to know? Exactly. That's how I do prep work to just get the feeling of the person, but then I let it go. I let go of perfection. I let go of I just let the conversation flow. And the times that I'm not looking at anything or trying to bring any kind of outcome out of the conversation is where the most magical conversations happen, like today. There's one question around, how do people start on this path? And so one of my favorite questions for people is, well, Maya, do you remember what you wanted to do when you were 8? Yeah. What was that? I wanted to write a book, save the world,
and become a filmmaker or of some kind.
So now,
Yeah.
actually, though, the question that the important thing too is, do you remember? Let's keep the book one. Do you remember why you wanted to write a book?
I wanted to tell my story.
Yeah. Do you remember why you wanted to tell your story?
Because I thought I had a unique way of looking at the world.
Yeah. To me, that's what's fascinating is when you're a kid and say you're 8 years old and you want to be something, you may not actually want to be an author, maybe. Or for me, I wanted to be a pilot when I was young. And the interesting answer to me is, well, why? Because that's really, it's that feeling or desire behind the job, which is important and which you still carry with you today. So I can look back and now see, oh, I didn't really want to be a pilot. It was really the freedom. But as a kid, all you see is doctor, lawyer, pilot, firefighter, policeman.
Stereotypes, yeah.
So, for example, most like clients who wanted to be a doctor when they're young didn't actually want to be a doctor. They just wanted to help people. As a kid, you'd see doctor. So, I mean, to me, that's one of the most interesting questions. I always love, asking that to people and see what they say, because it's really the desire behind the job, which is important. It's something to follow. And here you are, you're telling your story. It's unique. I'm sure you'll write a book at some point. By the way, I took Donna Kozik has a course, write a book in a weekend.
I heard about that.
It was awesome. And I wrote a book in a weekend. And maybe you'll make a movie out of it and not save the world, but you'll save yourself and also change people's lives, which is all you can really do. Patience and baby steps are really important, and realizing that's why the reason that if you have a job that supports you and aligns with you, you're not only going to be able to relax about money and give your child some time to grow up before you tell it to get a job.
Yeah.
But you're going to get new insights and enjoyment through that work. So I think you're exactly on the right path. With this work, you start out and you're looking for fulfillment and money into, whatever your path is. What are some of the perceptions you think you had or have about how this should work?
Flow is definitely the word, like the Mihai Csikszentmihalyi flow, that when you're working, it's effortless. It's not, and there's more moments of that. And it's not something you try to push or count or, it just happens. And sometimes it is going to be hard because I've had days that I'm like, I don't feel like doing this. But really having that intelligence to know that this is that important and there is a sense of urgency to push this forward. And because and having that conversation in those moments that you're doing this for yourself. So if this is not working, let it go. And if it is working and there's another reason why you're not doing your job right now because you're scared, there's also this being scared of success.
All your fears will come up. I mean, part of the point is when you're doing this, I don't want to say right, but because your purpose really is first to heal yourself or to help yourself through others. You're going to find that if you've got really deep patterns around achievement addiction, for example, right, or around workaholism or fear or money, or there's a whole bunch of places where you have these negative patterns or unconscious thoughts that don't help you, that really create fear in your life. Your whole purpose is that in this work, when you're really on purpose, will help actually bring those up so you can work through them. I'll give you an example. So it's not necessarily supposed to be an easy process if you're doing it right.
Yeah.
Because money is a big area, but the simple one is if you're someone who's used to working 40 to 80 hours a week, that is too many hours. So I do 30, and the type of work makes a big difference.
Yeah.
I would count this as my hours. This is fun for me. But then there's some that feels more like work. But to be able to go from the amount of hours I used to work to this, it's hard for me to take a day off and just to relax. So that's, again, something where I'm healing myself. And I get that, like, I should be doing something. And it takes practice to learn, how to relax and enjoy it as much as I can.
Yeah.
And rather than going back to the old pattern of just working more. When you're really taking this seriously, if there's things that feel like they're uncomfortable, not going right, fear on money or amount of work, all those, it's all around bringing those up so that you can work through them and build your personal confidence and self-acceptance. That's really the root goal here, is to love yourself, be accepting, believe in yourself, to see your own value. And it's not an easy or fast process.
Yeah. No, that's great. That is beautiful and very profound,
Yeah.
and something that I, like to keep and think about it.
Yeah.
Because we don't allow it. We don't allow, especially if you're on a path like this, you don't allow yourself to, relax and enjoy it.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
So do your best.
Yeah. Thank
Thank
you.
you, Maya.
Thank you, Aaron, so much. And this was Maya from the Worldwide Good News.